Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Big East Rewind. I am Chuck Everson, your 7-foot host from Villanova University, and my partner is Root Canal royalty, my main man, Dr. Sonny Sparrow. How are you, Sonny?
I'm good, Chuck. I do notice that you skipped the Big East Rewind close, and you went back to the Big V.
Well, it's a special day.
I
It's not every day we have a national champion here with us. I mean, I'm just saying, So it was a special day. I put on my Sunday best, Sonny. That's what we do. Listen, we have Root Canal royalty and we have Villanova royalty. So it's going to be a good show. And he's a guard too. I'm sure that makes you happy, Sonny.
Loving it, man. He point guard. He was a captain. Let's roll, man. It's all good.
Well, listen, I got to say one thing. Like we said, when Jalen was here, okay, blood is thicker than water, Sonny. I'm sorry. Blood is thicker than water. 2 Wildcats trump 2 point guards, okay? So that's that. I'm just letting you know up front, all right? With that, with no further ado, our guest today was a Big East all-rookie team player. He was player of the year in the 2015 season, 2016 Final Four MVP and national champion, a 6-year NBA pro, Sonny. And his number 15 hangs in the rafters at the pavilion. My main man, Ryan Arcidiacono. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good, doing well. Good to see you guys, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. We've been trying to get you for a while, and thanks for making some time to hang with us for a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah, and it's I try to explain to Sonny, being a guy from Syracuse, and I'm not breaking chops here. But there's a closeness. Sure? I'm 100% sure. Okay. There's a closeness with the guys that played at Villanova. It doesn't matter when you played, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shed some light on that from my man here.
Yeah, I just finished up my 8th year as a professional. When I talk about Villanova and people talk about Villanova and ask about it, it truly is a special place and unique place that it started way back when Coach Wright would bring everyone back for the summer jam in the summertime. And it really was, no matter what class, no matter what grade you were in, whenever you graduated, whenever you played, there was always a certain level of respect and continuity and chemistry that all former Villanovans played, from the star players of the team to the walk-ons, and no one really cared. It was all just a bonding moment and shared stories of the successes and failures and trials and tribulations of our teams and whatnot. So it definitely is a great thing being able to go back to Villanova and have all these different guys and all these different classes be able to go and have fun and share some good stories with each other.
Yeah, and you were born and raised a Villanova kid, right? I mean, mom and dad met at Villanova. Your dad, Joe, and mom, Patty, right, met at Villanova. I know your dad was a football player.
Yeah,
and roomed with a basketball player, which was kind of odd, like Marty Karen.
Yeah,
another
Coach
big
would
guy.
Never have that nowadays. He would never let us room with anyone else at school.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how that works. I mean, I roomed with a teammate my first year, and then after that, we wanted to kill each other because we're playing for the same amount of minutes, the same spot. And now I wound up rooming with a regular student, and still good friends with that guy today. So you heard a lot of that Villanova stuff at home, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, my mom was a nurse, and then my dad played football there. I always say his claim to fame was that he was on the same team as Howie Long, and then everyone asks about Howie Long. They forget my dad even played football there. But no, for sure, Villanova blood through and through with my parents.
So Ryan, where are your roots from originally, though? You from Utah?
Yeah, so I'm from outside of Philadelphia, just like everyone is. Langhorne is where I grew up, but I live in Newtown, Pennsylvania. It's in Bucks County. So about a 45-minute drive to Villanova, 30 minutes to the city, and then only 60 miles or so to MSG at the Garden. So those Big East games were a lot of fun for my family to make the drive up and go enjoy that time up there.
But how about your heritage? Where are you from originally?
Oh, my parents, my mom's 100% Irish, and my dad's got like a little Irish Italian and then sprinkled in with some German in them. But the Arcidiacono name, my joke is that you don't really see many true Italians with the last name, like a last name like Arcidiacono naming their son Ryan. So you don't really see many
Right.
as Italians.
I just
Yeah,
want to
right.
say, Chuck, Italian point guard. There's another plus.
Oh, of course.
Another plus, man.
I claim,
Yeah, for
I
what?
claim it. I claim it for sure.
There you go. There
Left
you go.
that one out. I saw that.
So let's jump into this, Rise. So talk about, growing up playing high school ball. I talked to some people there, and they said that, if you just looked at Ryan Arcidiacono, you got a foul called on you. One of your teammates told me that. He said you took
Oh,
17 foul shots in the game against them. And he said,
yeah.
if you just looked Ryan's way, the referee blew the whistle. Is that accurate? I have to ask you that.
This definitely comes up a lot. That was when I was with the Knicks this year, one of the player development video coordinator guys went to Lower Merion. So I think you're referring to Darryl Reynolds, who said that.
Yeah, absolutely right.
We played Lower Merion at home in the third round of like the district tournament. And we had a good team. We had a home game, which doesn't happen for Neshaminy basketball very often. And we played Lower Merion, and I shot 22 free throws, I believe. I think I was like 18 or 19 for 22. And that was one of those games where I probably was getting way too many foul calls, but the home crowd probably helped a little bit. And but they traveled great, and I know Darryl would always talk about that. And like I said, the player development guy from the Knicks would just get on me for that, saying how many free throws that I shot, and that's the most he's ever seen in a game, let alone a high school game.
Yeah, that's what Darryl was saying. He was complaining a little bit, not much, but
He was complaining.
I don't think he actually got over it yet, Ryan, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure not. And that's the thing. It's like when you got these guys who you played against in high school and in AAU, they would hold it against you. And I definitely held that one because I grew up playing against Kris Jenkins literally my whole life.
Yep.
And I never beat DC Assault like one time. His team was great with Nate Britt, with Kris, a couple other D1 guys. And it was just, I always hated playing against, or not playing against them, but that the fact that we never beat them once. And Kris, just being the smack talker that he is, he was always talking that crap, and
Yeah.
had him on me in the AAU scene.
So on the AAU scene, the other thing I also talked to one of your roommates too, and he said on your AAU team, you might have been the biggest guy on the team, right? He said,
yeah, we didn't have.
and then people would look at you guys. You'd see these 5 white guys from middle of the suburbia, and all of a sudden you're whooping up on people, scoring 40 a game.
Yeah, that was our team. I think I definitely was one of the taller guys on our team, and we were that all white team from the suburbs that didn't really look the part of playing. But then we would have teams that wouldn't take us very seriously, and we jump on them pretty quick, like a 20-7 or 20-11 run in the first like 8-9 minutes of the game, and then their coaches are getting on their players, freaking out and telling them we can actually play and whatnot. So I definitely had to do a lot of rebounding and guarding big men in AU, but those days were the best. And competing with some of the guys, like I said, on the team and playing against them was a ton of fun. But my team, once we got later rounds of those AU tournaments, we didn't really win as much.
Tell us about your senior year. You had a what did you have, a hyperextended disc or something?
Yeah, I had a herniated disc, so I had to.
So you were out. You were out your whole senior year, right?
Yeah, so during the recruiting process, I know we all know it's crazy now. I actually didn't love the recruiting process, so I committed to Villanova before my junior season in high school, which doesn't happen too often because I think a lot of guys are trying to feel out what school is best for them, and it kind of was just the perfect fit and whatnot for me. But so I didn't play my junior season AAU or my senior season of high school, and it was one of those things where back surgery is a serious thing, and then especially for a high school kid. But the surgeon who did it, Dr. Vaccaro, was amazing and is a superstar. Basically came in and said, well, your high school season's done. In December of 2011, I sat out my whole senior year, and it was tough, but I wanted to make sure that I was ready and healthy to play for my freshman year. So everything I did, I tried to rehab as hard as I could and make sure I was good to go for a freshman year for Coach Wright.
So who was in the mix at the end when you made your decision? I know Florida was big, right? Because Coach Donovan got close to you, and I heard Syracuse too. I know Sonny would be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I think that the final two for me were Florida and Villanova, and I don't even remember anyone else that I was actually seriously considering. Coach Donovan had a great recruiting pitch to me and whatnot throughout the process. And my AU coach actually grew up on Long Island, went to St. Agnes where
Oh, where Billy went. Yeah.
where Coach Donovan went too. So he recruited me like crazy, and it truly was Jason Donnelly who did a ton of recruiting. Was an assistant coach at the time, and then I believe he's the athletic director at Furman right now.
Yep.
He told Coach Wright that I was going to commit to Florida if he didn't jump in and come and see me. So he did a great job recruiting me, and then got Coach Wright to come see me more often and show some love. And I signed the papers once Coach Wright came about and laid out the plan for me.
Now, how did that story go, Ryan? Because I'm hearing Coach came in, sat down with Joe and Patty, and said, "Hey, let's figure this out. We got to get this guy." Is that basically what happened?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Donovan, I took my recruiting trip to Florida, and we were there from Friday through Sunday for a football game and whatnot. I worked out in high school in the mornings, and I arrived. I was going to work out at like 6 a.m. at my high school on that Monday morning, and who's waiting at the door, the gym door, was not Coach Wright. It was Billy Donovan. After I had just seen him the day before, flew up and was waiting for me at the door. And at that point, I told my parents. I called him after school, and I was like, "Guess who was at the gym this morning?" And they were like, "Probably Coach Wright or something." And I'm like, "No, Billy Donovan. Like, this dude wants me. Like, I love Coach Wright, but I always give him crap because he never came and saw me play and that much. And I was a local kid. I now live in the town where Council Rock is, Council Rock North, where he went to high school. So it was kind of like a shoe-in, but he wasn't really showing me the love right away. And Coach Donovan did an amazing job. And at the end of it, my parents threw the kitchen sink at me, my mom specifically, went to Midnight Madness that following Friday, and I had all my family members. Coach Wright was explaining everything and showed all the love and the team and this and that. And I just was like, this is too good to pass up. But in that week, I told my parents that I wanted to commit to Billy Donovan and go to Florida. And then they were like, just, you have to wait. You have to give Villanova a fair chance. If you don't see the vision after this Friday or whatever, we'll let you go there. I'm like, okay, okay. So that whole week, I'm like, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Florida. After that Villanova Midnight Madness, I tell my parents in the car right back, like, I think I want to commit to Villanova. And they're like, call Coach Wright right now. Call him right now. You know, versus me saying I wanted to go to Florida. They said, hold off. So it was a great decision. Like we all know, it was a lot of fun, but I eventually got to play for Coach Donovan in Chicago.
I was just going to ask you that. You'd get some time playing with Coach in Chicago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I mean, he's such an amazing person, first of all, and then also
Yeah.
as a coach. And, you know, we rekindled the stories, and he was laughing and talking about my mom and crumpling up a paper when he's out and about with them at Florida. My mom's on the verge of tears, and we just would laugh about it. But he has done an amazing job and has had an amazing career so far.
Yeah.
And everything all worked out for the both of us.
Can I ask you a question? You said
Yeah.
you signed after your junior year, and then you didn't play an entire senior year.
Yeah.
Now you get to campus, and coach names you captain. Was there any like bad press or anybody saying, "Hey, listen, we got this kid. He didn't even play his senior year"? It seems like there might have been. Was any of that going on at all? Were you aware of any of that?
Are you saying like within the team?
No, like you know the press or the school newspaper kind of saying know
I
much
mean,
about this guy, and that
yeah,
kind
at that point it was kind of Villanova. We had just gotten off like a 13-19 season.
Yeah.
I believe that it was. I don't think I don't want to say we weren't on the radar, but we definitely weren't getting any real publicity that
Okay.
freshman to captain would even be that much of a headliner. You know, I think it was one of those things where I just tried to go into school and earn my stripes, and that was a Coach Wright decision to name me as a captain. I believe in September or October. So I'd gone through the 2 months of summer camp and then a little preseason. I think he just had a vision, not just for that season, but I think for the long term of what he wanted a Villanova basketball player to play like and represent for the school. And I think that I just hit all those things in that short amount of time. And he put that trust in me, and I put my trust in him. And he slowly elevated everyone on our team, and we all got better that year and set ourselves up for the following season.
So how did
go
that?
ahead.
I just one more question about that, because Jay's never had a freshman captain, as far as I understand,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he names you early on, and did you now feel, oh boy, now I got a lot of pressure on me? How did you feel about that next step now? Being
No,
the
I think that I was such a like I wasn't a vocal leader as a freshman. I was a lead and work by example, and just the way that I played, I was searching for moments to do things that Coach Wright would one respect, my teammates would respect me, and also were the best thing for our team. I
Mhm.
didn't feel any pressure because that was just the way that I grew up playing. I credit my parents and my dad specifically for the way that I played growing up was they didn't care how many points I scored or anything. All they really cared about was if I was the toughest dude on the court and the hardest playing person. My parents never yelled during games. They just would watch and they would let me know
Yep.
if I wasn't playing hard enough. And that was really my biggest thing. And then it internally became the thing that if I wasn't doing that, then why am I even playing the game? So to wrap it up, I mean, Coach Wright just kind of saw the way that I played and it fit the style and the person on the court that he wanted to play.
I
You know,
remember
it's
Chuck and I talked about it when you
when
and
it
me
happened, right? Yeah.
yeah, we were talking about it, and he said, "Oh, Jay's never done that before. This kid, we got to keep an eye on this kid." So we kind of did, we
Yeah.
kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ryan, because I remember when I walked on the campus my freshman year, John Pannone was there, who you've met. He was an All-American, and Michael Mulquin was there, who was another tough guy. And they led by like there was things that they did, man, that if you weren't pulling your weight in practice, you knew about it, afterwards or whatever. But I couldn't even imagine. I didn't even know which way was up when I walked onto campus, and I'm with these guys that I've watched on TV and stuff, and Eddie Pinkney and all these guys, and I walk in and I'm going, there's no way I could have done that. I mean, I take my hat off to you because that's unbelievable for you to go in not knowing the system yet, and now you got to learn that, you got to figure,
And you
and
got to
then you got to
teach.
have everybody's respect as a freshman. And it's interesting because I like when I spoke to both, I spoke to Patrick and I spoke to D-Ray today, okay, and both guys said exactly what you're saying, the work ethic and that you did everything hard all the time, that spoke more than any words you could have said, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for a dude like me, who I think my highest vertical in my life might have been 20 inches, I had to play hard every single time I was out there. And I think I really played as hard as I could every single moment of my career and lifting in the weight room and everything. I took it all very seriously because my margin of error was very, very tiny. And I think, like I said, from a recruiting standpoint, I just was a match made in heaven for Coach Wright, and I think that the way that I played just perfectly encapsulated like how he envisioned like the toughness, the selflessness, and to try to make people better was something that kind of came natural to me. But also, it like I put my trust in Coach Wright, and he put me in a position early on in those 2 3 hour practices that we would have, and I mean it all worked out, but it was a lot of fun, but it definitely as I got older, I was able to speak more and use my voice a little bit more versus just using the work ethic aspect of it.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
They talked to Jalen Brunson most recently. I don't know if they talked to Josh, but they talked about playing off of 2 feet.
Hmm.
And I remember going to a couple of coaches, the coaches, the opening day coaches clinic, I think it was called. And I remember I kind of just more paid attention to how Jay talked and treated everyone
Hmm.
versus some of the specifics. But he had very specific. He was very focused on what he was teaching, and it was funny to hear Jalen and everybody talk about it. And I'm sure for yourself, playing off of 2 feet, talk a little bit about that style and how that kind of works and what it meant to you.
Yeah, I think during my time it was again everything was attention to detail, and Coach Wright really tried to strip the team down to the bare bones and then build us back up. And I think from when I got there, it was every single day working on our jump stops, our pivoting, and our finishing off of 2 feet because um, he would always say that it's easy. Everyone can make the easy chest pass, the quick pass, but not everyone can make a simple bounce pass or feed the post with both hands and do things that were so probably not thought of at other schools or other places, that he really would try to focus every single day on them. And I'm telling you, it was every single day we would work on our jump stops, pivoting, fake to pass to make a pass. And I'm sure the terminology
Yeah.
has changed a little bit, but it was just so ingrained that as players, you knew that, let's call it 45 minutes of our hour and a half practice was going to be things that we did every day that we knew how to do. And it got so redundant at that point, but it was crucial to us fully grasping the importance of it, that Coach Wright was trying to preach as hard as he was.
Yeah, he was good. You know what? He took a lot of the stuff that Coach Mass did and polished it up, like some of the expressions, like, when you talk about everybody's got a different job, but the same status. We never used that expression, but it was that way. You know what I mean? And same thing with a lot of the stuff in practice and things like that.
Coach Wright
It's
had an expression, and we had so many meetings in the video room of printed out quotes and varying from Martin Luther King to
oh
Joe
yeah,
Joe Flacco, or on the Ravens during their runs, different things. And he just, anytime he would watch another sport, anything, and could relate it to our team, he would try to figure out a way that he could relate to our team, and we would get a message just a different way.
while you're on the subject of Coach, talk about your relationship with him during your time at Villanova, and then later on after you graduated and became a pro. Talk about the whole relationship, what he means to you.
Yeah, he means a great deal. I think naming me as a captain as my freshman year was a huge, a huge thing in our relationship. But then after my freshman year, I played 35 minutes a game. He would call timeouts instead of subbing me out. He'd be like, "Are you tired? I could burn a timeout or two," because he didn't want to take me out of the game. But the first thing I thought of when you asked about Coach Wright was, after my freshman year, he brings me in your end of the year meeting. He was like, "All right, you had a good freshman year. You can score the ball, but how the F are you going to help us win? Like, what are you going to do to help us win?" Mind you, I was a freshman, and
Right.
we won 20 games. We got back to the tournament. We kind of turned the boat around, turned the ship around, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like maybe things aren't as jolly as I thought they were going to be." And I was like, so my mindset changed of like, all right, maybe I'm not shooting the ball, and my percentages were terrible freshman year, but I had the ultimate green light of shooting the ball whenever I wanted, and probably some terrible shots and probably some good ones. But
Yeah.
throughout my sophomore year, I think I averaged 10 points a game, and just tried to figure out a way to lead and help our team win. So I think that always stuck with me throughout the next 3 years of my career with Coach Wright. And from that standpoint, it was, how can we win in the toughest situation at the end of the year? And then after college, he's been great. Haven't spoke to him as much, probably just because he was finishing up his career, coaching and taking care and focusing on their guys. But he would always shoot a text when I was playing with the Bulls and with the Knicks, with everything that transpired the last couple of years in my career, and dealing with the journeys, the ups and downs of the journeys, and keeping a positive attitude and mindset. He's been a great person to rely on if I ever needed anything, and he's always looking out for us. And he'll shoot you with a text or two, not a phone call, because everyone knows Coach Wright phone calls can go for an hour.
So when
Yep.
you get to Villanova, you talk about, the like Chuck talks about the hierarchy, the graduating, the alumni. Was there any guys ahead of you that were guards, like I was Scott Reynolds, Scoop Reynolds, wasn't it?
Scotty.
Gotti, yeah.
Was he one of the guys that you said, "Hey, that's a guy that I want to take a liking to"? I mean, was there any guys that you modeled after or that
No,
reached
I
out?
mean, no, I think growing up in the area, and my parents going to Villanova, like I always credit the mid 2000 teams, with A Ray, with Kyle, with Nardi, with
Yeah.
Kurt, with Randy. Like those are the teams that I would watch just as a fan. And I remember I was distraught when they called the travel on A Ray, I think in '05 when they lost to UNC. Like I think I'm a Villanova lifer in the sense of just growing up as a fan. I was a
Yep.
fan for so many of these moments, and watching it and being a part of, like, getting to play at the school where Dwayne Anderson, you know what I mean? And the plays that he had in '09, and the guys, and I can go on and on, in 2007, 2008, 2010, just all these guys, I grew up watching them play, but I would say that like four guard, and I would say like Will Sheridan on that team in the mid 2000s too. Like those dudes, like I watched and like wanted to be all of them, all those guards, because I knew I wasn't going to be a big man, but they all were tough. They all could make shots, they could make plays, and they had a swagger about them. So I think that I just grew up watching it, and that's how I played myself, and that's why I think it was such a perfect fit for Coach Wright.
Hey,
Cool.
before we get into 2016, I want to talk about 2015 because I don't think 2016 happens without that. The way you guys fought, and all of a sudden you lose a heartbreaker to NC State, right, on a missed three late. But
Yeah.
you guys, what is your opinion of that? I mean, do you think that 15 team was a better man for man? Was that a better team than 16?
I think we had a really, really good team. I think we lost 3 games that whole year. I
Yeah.
think we managed, and even the games we probably should have lost throughout the regular season, we won. And I think that's a great thing. But I also think that we didn't like check ourselves a little bit. Not in the
Mm,
sense that we thought we were like gonna win a title, but we thought like, okay, this is our team. And you know what? Everyone remembers 2016. I still get ticked off about 2015 losing NC State, and
yeah.
like it's one of those where you like, I don't really want to watch it. Do I watch the highlights? Like I think I was like 1 for 4, didn't even shoot the ball much. Like I was a non-factor. Darren played amazing. Phil I think had a really good game too. It's
Yeah.
just it's the moments. I mean, I love the 2016 title, but the other moments of losing when we're up against UConn in 2014 in the tournament, up 14 early, and someone's in foul trouble, maybe Shabazz or like Boatwright or someone's in foul trouble. But that 2015 team was great. I mean, Javon and Darren were great leaders and well respected within our program.
Yeah.
And they were really, really good dudes too. I mean, some of the best guys out there. And we just ran into a bad matchup. It didn't play. And the ACC, they had a couple quick guards, and they had a solid big man who played with Kris, I think, in AU, and BJ Anya. It was a tough matchup. And I think that, Chuck, what you said, our 16 team probably doesn't win without that loss happening. At some point, we had to lose on a bigger stage than we had the previous season, where there was some expectations on us to really
Sure.
understand and how to make sure we got past that second round in 2016.
Well, I'll tell you something you probably don't know. This is very interesting to me. So I think your best offense in 2016 was your defense a lot of times because you guys turned the ball, turned guys over and got steals, got easy buckets. And I'm going to tell you how that happened. I get a call from Coach Mass on a Tuesday. He says, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "I got to go to work." He said, "Come down, hang out with me. I'm going to do Jay's camp." So
Mhm.
he's in front of 150 kids doing defensive slides. He finishes his thing. So it's Coach Wright, Coach Mass, and Marty Marbach, who was an assistant on our 85 team. We go in the Davis Center, and they're putting in the beginnings of that defense that you guys started to play.
Zone.
The
Our,
zone, yeah.
our
And
coach right
he
never went zone.
Yeah, three, three,
yeah,
like
and you
quarter.
know what? You know what? He got it from his granddaughter. It was a lacrosse defense. Okay.
Oh,
And then it was step up, and then the double team step up, and then the switch here, switch there.
yeah.
So now we go up to Jay's office, and he's got the sugar packets against the creamers on the table, and then it was the beginnings of, and then Jay polished it up, as it went through, but it was the very beginnings of that defense that you played and wound up winning the national championship. But I was so glad that he was able to be there to see that because he masterminded that with Jay in like a half hour. It was unbelievable to watch.
Basketball geniuses, and
But
everyone. I think Rolly might have said it, or a couple of people might have said it, of like Coach Wright was hard headed in the way of not going to a zone or having any type of zone and adjusting
yeah,
or doing anything like that. And finally, he did, and then we win the championship in
and you
20.
win, yeah, and so and I know Coach gave him grief for that too.
Oh,
So
for
that
sure.
was that goes without saying.
Coach
So
Wright would hype up Rolly all the time, and like
oh,
well deserved too. But he showed him his love within us, and then with
oh
us
yeah.
publicly as well.
The greatest thing, right, for us was watching Coach Mass get his 2016 ring
Mhm.
when you guys all got your rings at
Yeah,
at summer at the whatever that's called the beginning the March Madness type of thing.
yeah, the Hoops
Yeah,
Mania.
Hoops Mania, yeah.
Yeah. They won
So
that.
So
Flagger.
take us through that season. One thing that sticks out for me, and listen, we've all done this. In Sonny, it was the orange against the white, and us, it was the blue and white at practice. The white's the second team, the blue's the first team. Your white team had 4 future pros on it. I don't know if you realize that. I mean, but
Yeah.
four future pros. I'm going. No wonder they were good. You're playing against the guys you were playing in practice was as good or better than any team you were going to face that year.
No, for sure. And I think we were you clearly don't realize it at that time. Everyone is like, oh, Mikhail is going to be now a redshirt sophomore. You got this high praise freshman coming in and Jalen. Then you have this other freshman who's a local kid who's a freak athlete in Dante. And then we get this transfer from Fordham that had a really good freshman year that's sitting out this year. Then you're returning a team with 3 starters from a 33-2 team.
Yeah.
We competed like crazy. And I think those were the days that you cherish and miss most. Now that I just turned 30 years old, you're like, man, we would get after it. And everyone has a personality and everyone was super, super competitive. And those practices, we literally would try to kill each other. Like Coach Wright would have to stop it. And, we would be pissed off if one team lost because Coach Wright calls some nonsense technical foul or something on Kris because he didn't get in a stance. And Josh Hart, you're seeing it with the Knicks now and his personality. That was every day in practice where whatever team Josh was on got -2 to 4 points every time they played just because he was talking too much crap or doing something that Coach Wright didn't think he should be doing. And oh man, we had so many good practices and so many great times competing, and that only helped us throughout the season. I mean, from getting our butts kicked against Oklahoma earlier in the year, we went through the struggles and played some tough games that really helped our team and in big moments that we weren't afraid to lose and trust each other.
Yeah, the cool thing for us is a lot of us would go to practice. I was telling this to Patrick today. I probably went to 4 or 5 practices a year, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, up until COVID. And then it kind of got scrambled a little bit. But one of the good things about that is you can see watching the competitive fire that you guys had, watching you guys get after it, and you still take the time to go say hi to the old guys. It was great. All of our guys love doing that. And I think our teams are very similar in the closeness of the guys on the team. I know you have a couple of guys that kind of fill a similar role to what it was my role on our team, keeping everybody together. I know Hank and Patrick do a good job of that, and it's great to see because that's what it's all about, really. It's the ball's going to stop bouncing out at some point, but the locker room never has to end. That seems to be, it's been going on for us for so it's 40 years this year.
Yeah,
So
we're the young old guys now, but going over and saying hi, Coach Wright we'd always huddle up and he'd be like, hey, Chuck Everson and Ed Pinkney's here and you got Harold Jensen and whatever. Make sure you go say hi. Some of those times having to say hi, you'd have to like cool off talking to a coach because we were so pissed off about what just happened in practice.
Right.
But you had to go show your respect for your elder former Villanova players. Right. So we didn't always want to go say what's up to you guys, but we had to. But you look back and you appreciate that because when I go back and those dudes greet me with a nice, hey, what's up, how's it going, and stuff like that, you're just like,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's passed on, and that's what circles back to the summer jam stuff of the golf outing and the playing. It makes it all one together. I think that's what makes Villanova different and making those relationships last for a lifetime, regardless of your team. But
and it's funny, right? Because it doesn't matter when you played, right? I mean, I go to games now, and I wind up hanging out with Will Sheridan, who's 20 years younger than me, and Chef, who's 30 years younger than me.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
We're out, hanging out, and I look around. I go, now I'm the elder statesman, so now I have to buy the rounds. That's kind of the rules, buddy. So
Daniel for sure can buy you a drink. He's been playing professionally long enough.
Believe me. I know. I'm not worried about him. Believe me, that's not an issue.
Like you said, you guys have keeping the team together, I get to be fortunate enough to play professionally for a living and see a lot of these guys and my former teammates, I mean, this year I was teammates with them, But even seeing the other guys, the Villanova dudes around the league, it's a special bond. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
all of us doing it together. But I mean, specifically on our team, it was Pat, it's Henry, it's Kevin Raff, it's
Yeah.
Denny Grace and those dudes. It's like keeping their respected teams together and knowing that those moments will last a lifetime and friendships will last a lifetime.
So you
So
mentioned, wait, you
go ahead.
mentioned Oklahoma because
I'm just
Syracuse
going to say
played
that.
Carolina, and I was at the Final Four,
Mhm.
and I did spend plenty of time with my Villanova brothers too. But long story, you mentioned Oklahoma. That was probably the biggest annihilation in a Final Four game I've ever seen. They were dismantled, and I think there were records that they had the worst shooting percentage or the least amount of points. I mean, did you guys prepare that much for Oklahoma? Did you prepare a little bit for potentially Syracuse or Carolina? What's the preparation like?
Yeah, I think I've heard Daniel say this before, but we got our butts kicked by Oklahoma in Hawaii that season by like 2025 earlier in the year. So when we were playing them, and we always
Really?
take one game at a time, and Coach Wright, they would look at a bracket and be like, okay, this is our 4-section pod. We're playing this team, and then if we win, we have coaches who are doing the scout for the other team. But Daniel says this, not really remember them laughing, but Daniel said that he remembers them laughing in the layup lines and kind of chuckling, and they thought it was going to be sweet, just like they beat us earlier in the season. And at that point, we're so locked in, and we are ready to kill somebody out on the court to win. So we were ready to go. And clearly, anytime you shoot 71%, you're going to win a majority of the games, if not all of the games. But our defense was
Swarming.
went on like a 27-0 run, and we held we held Buddy to 9 points, and
Yep.
they had no idea. So I think, kind of circling back to my AU days, we got on them pretty quick, and we got them down 10, 15 points, and they kind of started turning a little bit on each other. And we just looked at each other like, just keep going. They're going to break. They're going to break. And eventually we broke them to go on that huge run. And at that point, it was like, we're getting shots up at Finner and Pavilion or back at the Davis Center with how wide open they were. But I mean, that was one of our best games where our defense
It was
led to
unbelievable.
offense, and then our offense also led to amazing energy on the defensive end, and that was top to bottom there.
It looked like 5-on-7.
How did, if anything, how did the Seton Hall game in the Big East final, the loss to Seton Hall, how did that motivate you guys as you were going into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think when I mean, the Big East tournament is so fun, and I was lucky enough to win it in 15, buzzer beater loss in 14, and then lose again to Seton Hall in my senior year. I think it was 3 days of so much fun. I mean, so mad that we lost that game, but they were a really, really good team with a really good coach and great players in Whitehead and Carrington and whatnot. But I think that humbled us in a way that everyone on the outside thought that we were going to do it again and lose in the first or second round like we did the previous season. So I think it really like humbled us in the way of just locking in and being there for one game at a time. And I think when the CBS cameras like pan to us when we got the 2 seed in the tournament, I don't think anyone even like really stood up and clapped and went crazy. I think because we just lost the previous night, we kind of were like, all right, we're a 2 seed. Like, we got to get back, get this thing going before Thursday, Saturday games and whatnot. And I think it just locked us in. And I think we weren't going to be that team. And specifically myself, Daniel, Kev, Henry,
Right.
and Pat were seniors that we said throughout that season we weren't going to let our senior season end the same way that it had the previous 3 seasons. And if this is how we're going to lose as Villanova players as our senior year, we're going to give it everything we had and be different than the guys.
So you guys get to the Final Four, okay? Now, what's interesting to me, Ryan, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to share this with you. So we were able to do stuff like, okay, St. John's was at the hotel down the street from us. Dwayne McClain and I are friends with Ron Stewart, who played. We were down at their hotel hanging out with them. You guys saw the dining room, the film room, the training room, and the locker room. That was it, right? You guys were on like double secret probation or something.
Yeah, it was always a business trip. And I think that's, again, Villanova was different in that way, and taking our cell phones and taking our computers and whatnot at that time. Like, we played in the Battle for Atlantis my sophomore year. I don't even think I saw the ocean. I think it was one of those things, wherever we went, we was always focused on the task at hand, and that's to be the most prepared and ready to play that 40 minutes whenever that game was. And we didn't really see much of Houston that whole time. I think they had like a convention center event on like Wednesday that we had to go to as a team. But other than that, everything was locking in on film and practice and in the meal room.
They even had like a back entrance that you guys went in, and you wouldn't even go through the lobby of the hotel, right?
Coach Wright would pull out
It was
all
wild. I tell you what.
Nazi people, and Arlisha, God bless her soul. Like she is the best and the backbone of Villanova basketball, making sure that everything was like, we are the biggest celebrity in town that can't be seen or talked to by anyone.
Our Syracuse hotel was right around the corner from you guys, and they didn't have those rules.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because obviously it worked out. I mean, you can't argue what the results were, but it was funny because I'm hanging around with your dad, I'm hanging around with Josh's dad, I'm hanging around everybody's father. We're all hanging around, and we held that moniker of being the only championship team there for 31 years. And people would ask us, Ryan, can you believe this? People would say, do you really want them to win? You're the only champs at Villanova. I go, of course we want them to win.
Yeah.
We were like little kids. We had about 15 of us in a section across from the North Carolina bench, about 20 rows up. And we're high-fiving and jumping up and down. Connolly Brown is standing on chairs, leading the cheers. I wish we had a camera of us watching you guys play.
Yeah.
Because and then the kid Page makes that circus shot, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about
one of the most unbelievable shots in basketball, Sonny. Unbelievable.
Right. But you had gotten to the point, right? You were up 3, and they were in desperation mode, and he hits a double clutch hanging in the air 3 from kind of near the hash mark.
Yeah.
And you could just feel the entire like air in the building.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on through your mind when that happened? Did you feel like, what the hell? What was going on?
No, I mean, in that moment, it's, they made the shot and we still have 4.7 seconds and we called timeout, and we knew what was going to happen. The ball was going to be in my hands to be able to make the right decision to win the game, and something that we practiced. And there was really not much to be said. And there was just everyone was pretty much calm in the huddle. It was just calm, people saying attitude. And it was like, all right, we knew what was going to happen. It was just a matter of if we're going to make the shot and who's going to make the shot.
Wasn't somebody mopping the area before you guys?
Chef.
Yeah. So Daniel, my guy, my fellow 2016, recruit together. That was my dude. Looking back, I'm like, what the hell was he doing? Going for a steal at the end of the game. But I think he thought he was gonna, if he got the steal and fouled him, they were shooting free throws and we'd have a chance to rebound. Never actually asked him that, but that's where he dove for the steal.
He said he slipped in the Big East tournament, and he wasn't going to let that happen again. You slipped. Yeah.
I slipped. So Daniel, being as crazy smart as he is, remember that he dove there, was telling the kid to wipe it up, and he was like, I need to make sure this is the right spot for my boy Arch, to make sure I set this screen properly and he doesn't slip so this doesn't happen again. Going back to Seton Hall, we lose that game. I slip. I mean, it was going to be a tough shot anyway, but he wanted to make sure that the ball would be in my hands to be able to make the right decision. But yeah, I mean,
he was a marketing genius ahead of his time, Ryan, because he wound up getting Swifter stuff for his mother. Got all kinds of Swifter stuff after that game.
Yeah, that was before ever could get paid for whatever.
Crazy. Yeah, I was nuts.
Some Charmin or whatever it is.
So take us through that play. You get the ball inbounded and you got it going in the right direction immediately, right?
Yeah. So it's just basically hit me in the backcourt. Daniel's going to set a screen kind of around like the 3/4 half court mark, and then a pin down on the other side. And we had Josh and Phil, or Josh was going to screen for Phil in the right corner. But coming out of the timeout, Kris was like, hey, Arch, like, look for me, I'm going to be open. And we've probably ran that play in practice 100 to 200 times. And I've never passed the ball, and I've never passed the ball back to the inbounder, because I was like, you know what? After Marcus Page made that shot, I truly thought that I was like, this is my moment. I'm going to hit the best shot in college basketball history. I'm a senior. This is my team. Like, that was the first thing. Like, this is going in. I'm going to shoot this thing. Then Kris says that to me coming out of the huddle. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. But as soon as I got the ball, Daniel said just enough of the screen to get Joel Berry off me. And then Kris probably ran the fastest he ever ran to right behind me. And I heard him say, arch, arch, arch. And just my natural instinct was to trust my teammate and a dude who has the swagger and the onions, as Raph would say, to make a shot in that moment in front of 70, 80,000, however many people, and that was his moment, but that was our team's moment, and it perfectly encapsulated our team
No.
of Daniel setting the screen, Josh setting a screen for Phil, and just trying to win the game. And Kris made one of the best shots in college basketball history.
So option one, you're taking it. Option two, you're kicking it to the corner. Is that
to Phil. Phil's getting a screen.
Phil Booth.
He was 6 for 7 on the night. So he
had a great game. He had like 20, right?
He was
so he was like Jalen was on the bench, same with Mikhail and Daryl. But Josh was setting the screen for Phil just to occupy them over there. And if he was open, which Phil says he was open, he wanted the shot in that moment too. But Kris, for whatever reason, Bryce Johnson was chilling underneath the rim and not really guarding anyone, got a pretty good look at it. I think Kennedy Meeks got a late contest on it, but him rhythm, like I said, he's got the swagger and put in the work to make that shot.
The key was when you made the toss to Kris, you ran underneath them. So that it was like setting a pick, but you didn't make contact with anybody. So nobody had a chance to get to him. That was smart play.
That was just instinct of, if Coach Wright had it like his way to win a championship, I would have came to a jump stop and pivoted and passed it, bounced him a bounce pass on the perimeter. But, for whatever reason, my momentum was taking me and I got just enough of a brush screen to make sure he was open enough to take a good look and make it.
Oh, it was a perfect little dish. I mean, it was.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you never seen a bunch of old guys jump as high as we did when you guys made that shot. First of all, it was one of the best games I've ever seen. Definitely, besides our game, the best game I've ever seen in person, And I got to tell you, Dwayne McClain had his hip replaced. Now, Dwayne was a high flyer, dunker, Within a second, he was down. He was down the aisle, and he leaped over the scorer's table to get to the court to hug you guys. And we were all like, "You son of a bitch! How did you do that?" We wanted to get down there with you guys, and
sure. There was a pride in playing for Villanova, the school, but the former players, 31 years is too long for Villanova to not win.
Yeah, I agree.
It was
that was a heavy load. We were happy to share it with you guys for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you recognize, you see the players that are all there supporting you. There's no ill will. Like when they won in 2018, we were pumped up. I was there. It was like this is how it should be, and that was like the expectation, and now is kind of our expectation in the ever changing game of college basketball. But
yeah,
fun,
I got to ask you, Jay's reaction. Okay, did you guys break his balls after that? I mean, come on, man. You just turn or is that just him?
That's him, man. I mean, I literally have never seen him be crazy excited or going nuts.
Yeah.
Only time I've ever seen
rolly fist.
Yeah, what a total difference from the guy I played for. Holy cow.
Yeah. The only true time, there's a highlight of us when we got out of the second round. He came into the locker room and does like a tiger fist pump.
Yeah.
We're in like the Islanders locker room. And I think that was just like the pressure. It was like now there was no more pressure of us, like if we couldn't get out of the first weekend. But that's just right. He probably thought, okay, what's next? Like, are they going to put time on the clock? And is Kris showboating or doing something? Because he had always talked to us about some of our celebrations and not giving our energy to each other. But that was the moment we worked for our whole 4 years. And that season was for that moment. And Coach Wright, he probably celebrated a ton, but in that moment, he had to show that he was still that.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of confetti, man. You couldn't see 3 inches.
Oh, it was awesome.
No, for sure.
Awesome.
So they had to go review it. I was like, "What are you going to review it?" You
can't. Can you imagine if they said it was no good? We would have ripped the building down. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I probably watched the video of the 4.7 seconds like
1,000 times, probably.
Times, yeah. And you just hear in the call, you hear Nance calling it, and then you hear Grant Hill saying, "Watch Jenkins." Then you hear Coach Raff. He goes onions and whatever he says, and then he's like, "That's out, it's good," and you could hear like his positivity and excitement for Villanova, for us.
Yeah.
Also like the Big East. I really like every time I watch it, I can just sense that like it meant so much to him too. I mean, he wasn't picking favorites as an announcer.
Right.
you just pick up those little details when I watched it
He's
100
been
times.
around the program for so long, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, for sure. And you could just feel the excitement from him in that moment, which was pretty neat too.
Yeah, there's a pride. There's a Big East pride with Raf, no doubt
oh,
about it.
100%. He was one of the originals. So,
Yeah, no,
so,
for sure.
so you get to go meet President Obama, who is a big basketball fan. Okay.
Mhm.
And I got to ask you about this because it cracked me up because we went to see the president and, photos are taken and all that kind of stuff. So strategically, guys were placing themselves as close to the president as possible to make sure you had the best photo. Then I understand that you asked Chef to switch places and he told you no. Okay. Which was another marketing genius for
Oh,
Chef. I have to give my big brother a
that's
shout
your
out for
guy,
that
man.
because
You're
he's
gonna have your,
standing right next to Obama. Yo, let me stand over there. Yeah,
I
okay,
mean,
right.
I'm like on my phone. I'm like, I don't even know when we even went for that, but I'm gonna like, what? I haven't, it's that
It's
picture,
so
man. I
funny.
mean, there
When
was
I
nothing
heard that
against the
story, I
guy.
was hysterical laughing because that I would have been Chef. I would have been right there, right next to the boss. And then if Gary McLean or someone today switch, I go, yeah, okay. You know?
No, for sure. I have a couple good ones where I'm directly behind him on the when he's giving
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And then I see it, and then I see this one where he's next. We must have switched spots, but that's my boy Chef. You know, he's got it then. Got that pick.
I thought that was great. So how cool was that? I mean, that's some honor to be able to stand there with
Yeah.
the guy and have him talk about you and Chef and Big
No, it's
Smooth.
awesome.
He called Chris Big Smooth. I know Chris went,
Yeah.
you
Chris,
know.
I mean, again, just has like swagger to him. You know, I think I remember it mostly from that is getting to go through the White House and the 5 rounds of security it was to get in
Yeah.
there and everything, and just being there with your teammates. And then I think he did say he tried to pronounce my last name, and I think you see me go behind and like turn and like chuckle to someone like, "Ah, close enough," you know. And he said he
Yeah.
practiced it so many times and whatnot. But no, it was neat. That's definitely a once in a lifetime
Once in a
opportunity.
lifetime thing.
Yeah,
We had guys forget their ID, so they're pulling out the game program and say, "Look, it's me. Look, it's me." You know,
yeah.
Wyatt Baker pulled the game program out. He forgot
Well,
his
you
ID.
wonder why Coach Wright had so many gray hairs at the end of his career is dealing with the guys that we had on our team. Probably had one thing to do is bring your ID, and they don't bring it. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We had that.
no,
You
So
didn't get like you didn't scarf like an ashtray or a towel or anything.
no,
no, you would have
no,
got shot on the spot, Sonny.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
No,
couple. I mean,
there's all kinds of stories about that stuff, but I'm glad.
Daniel and
We had
Daniel
guys
and
with Uzis in their hands. They were, standing
uh,
right next to Reagan. It was crazy.
Daniel and I mean, they made it. It was like a 5 minute thing. Like he's in and out. You barely even saw him, but he like Chris and I, or not Chris. It might have been either Chris and I or Daniel and I. Once we first got in, had to do like a sit down interview, and everyone else got like a 15-minute walk around kind of the White House. And we just had to
Yeah.
go in a waiting room. But no, it was definitely neat and definitely cool every time I get to drive by there and see the White House and be like, oh, I've been in there.
Talk about the parade experience. Then you had, one of the biggest parades we've since ours, probably.
Yeah,
But ours was impromptu, right? No, Jay planned everything out.
yeah.
We got out of the plane. There was a couple thousand people at the airport, and we jumped in a flatbed truck. And next thing you know, we're down Market Street, and everybody's throwing stuff out the window, confetti
Yeah,
and all that. It was as soon as we landed, and then we got back to campus, and they sent everybody home 4 days before Easter break because they were afraid they were gonna destroy the campus
yeah. I mean,
because that night they were making bonfires in the quad. They were, it was crazy.
yeah, I mean, for us, it was when we got back, they had a like the little pep rally or whatever you call it after you win back at the football stadium, and that might
Yeah,
have had 5, 10,000 people there. We got the police escort, and then me, Henry, Pat, and Mort, one of our managers, went to Wawa literally that night because we were like, we haven't eaten. It's been crazy, and we couldn't even get our food because there was like people taking pictures with us and everything, and it was nuts. And then I guess they had enough time to plan it for that Friday for the parade. And I think we got 80,000 people. Nice short
yeah,
parade in Philly. And it was a good representation of people taking pride and being happy for a local school wedding. And it was
yeah.
a ton of fun, especially being a local kid. You know, I grew up and I went to the Philadelphia Phillies parade in 2008. And I was the next one, the next one to get a championship in the city. So it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, those are just great memories.
Well, we got to ask you while you're here. Talk about your experience with the Nova Knicks, okay? And
Yeah,
I was there when you got the call. I was there. They were retiring Jalen's number, okay?
yeah,
I'm at the game. Josh Hart's dad comes to me before the game and says, "Don't say anything. Josh is going to be a Knick by the end of this game." I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic," because I'm thinking the three of you guys are going to be together. And
yeah,
then you look at your phone and go, "Oh shit, I
yeah.
think I'm in the trade." So
Oh, for sure. It
talk
was
talk about, but you got back with them. So talk about
yeah.
that experience of playing with those guys.
No, that's great. I mean, it was a crazy night because I talk all my shit to Tibbs and all the Nova or the Knicks guys and the staff members that I've become like really close with and admire them for the work that they do. But it was Jalen's night and just a prideful thing. And then I hear Josh is getting traded to the Knicks, and then I see my phone ring and it's my agent, and then I'm a part of the trade, and then everyone's excited about Josh, and then I'm like, oh damn, I got to tell my parents who are at the game. Uh,
Right.
so they came down and even watched the rest of the game. I'm getting traded to Portland, and it was great. I had a great time with the Knicks that season, and then I had a great time out of Portland. I got to play a little bit, got hurt again with my
Yeah.
back. Enjoyed a great life experience out there, and was back with the Knicks this year with Dante and Josh, and being up close and seeing those dudes. I mean, I didn't really play at all, which was tough. But I mean, I looked at it in a college way of, there's different roles on the team, and I think I filled a role on the team that was respected by my peers and also my coaches, and with Tibbs and Leon and Gers and the whole front office. I think they admired me for the work that I brought and the tone that I set every day
Yeah.
for the team. So I took it as, I didn't view it as an embarrassment or anything. I took it as, hey, I still get to play
You
professional
shouldn't.
basketball.
You
I think
shouldn't.
no, yeah, I get to be at the Garden, and I get
Yeah.
to basically be a part of this team in this special run. And it was a lot of fun. And then I get thrown in a trade and then waived, and it was a tough moment for me throughout this season. After that All-Star break, I was down in Sea Isle, and my wife and I tried to figure out what our next move was. And it was good for me to get back on the court. So I played in the G League with the Windy City Bulls, which was a ton of
Yeah.
fun, just because I got to play again. And I haven't
Yeah.
played like, on the court in a long time, which was a lot of fun to just bring some joy back into the game. And I was out in Chicago where my wife is from, like I said, and she was able to be with her mom. Our friends are all out there, so we
Right.
get to just have a great time of just playing. Not really the most pressure in that sense, but it was just like fun for us to be back in the place where we first met, and also where she's from, and then I got to play. So it was a lot
Well,
of fun. But watching these Nova Knicks from a distance was a lot of fun as well, because I got to cheer them on. It definitely hurt not being on the team, but I
yeah.
understand it's a business, and it's something that I don't take for granted.
Well, listen, you guys, and I include you in this, you guys changed the whole culture of that organization, whether you guys know it or not. I mean, just by being Villanova basketball players and bringing that to the Knicks, because there was a lot of, stuff going on there where a lot of people were not uh Knicks fans that really have been lifelong Knicks fans,
It was,
and then all of a sudden everybody's a Knicks fan and everybody's
Yeah,
going crazy. And
for sure. It
next
was
thing you know, your guys have got a podcast that's real good, and and things are happening. But I got to tell you, right? I mean, from a basketball perspective, and somebody that's played the game, not at the highest levels that you played. I mean, I got drafted, but never really made the team. But I bounced around a little bit. I understand what that's like,
yeah,
having to pick up and move, and you know, your attitude. And this is, and I know it's going to sound corny and cliche, but you're the guy. Like, why wouldn't a team want to have Ryan Arcidiacono on the team? You got a great citizen, a guy that's going to play hard, whether he plays 1 minute or 30 minutes.
yeah,
You know, he's going to do everything right. You don't make many mistakes, if any, when you get out there. And you're positive, and you're not going to be the guy to complain about minutes or anything else. I
yeah.
think you need guys like that on the team, especially in the NBA, where you have all kinds of crazy personalities. I'm not telling you stuff you don't know. I mean,
No, for
you
sure. I
know,
mean, you never know. I mean, I joke, and my joke is that I was on the Knicks before any of those other guys, because I finished off my 21-22 season when Jalen was still on the Mavericks, and Josh was in Portland. So I was on the Knicks before they were, so
yeah,
to
yeah.
set the tone early and get to talk with those dudes. But no, I mean,
Now they got to get you back, and they got to get McHale now, and we're all
yeah,
set. you know?
I don't know. I mean, again, like, hey, those dudes, they treat me really well. I mean, I do think that they respect me as a person, but also as a player and what I bring to the table. And it might not be, playing a ton, but it's also, there's a lot of different roles on an NBA team, and you need people that understand their role and bring a certain mindset and attitude and also professionalism
Yeah.
to a team that also people might take for granted once things are chaotic, and just having someone who's a constant worker and a constant energy every single day. So I don't know what the future holds, but I know that my time, I can't speak highly enough about the Knicks
Right.
and Tibbs and Leon and all those guys up there
They're the
for sure.
good guys.
No,
So I got a couple more and then we'll let you go. All right. So you and I saw each other at Summer Jam, okay? And we spoke briefly, and you officiated Jalen's wedding, right?
yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, and he said, and then you told me, he said, "Oh, just call me Rabbi Ryan." I said, "Oh." So I start laughing. I go, "Did you? So what did you do? Did you have to take some kind of online class or something?"
I mean, mine was just the formality of, they had Jalen's wife is Jewish, Allie.
Yep.
She's great. So they had whatever they had to do for the Jewish
Right.
in church that they did that whole thing. But mine was more like standing up there and at the altar in the hotel that they had. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. I had to get ordained by some website in Illinois, which cost me like $85 that I'm still waiting for Jalen to pay. And
Yeah.
then
Good luck.
I,
He's
I
hurt.
yeah, he's definitely
He's hurting for money. Yeah.
my wife got to know Jalen and Allie really well throughout being there and our connection and whatnot. And her being a Midwest girl like Allie, they connected and bonded too. So she helped me formulate kind of the script of the night. Allie said what she wanted, and then there was some personal time where Ryan got 5 minutes to formulate and say some things about them and Jalen and whatnot. And I had to hype Allie up a few times throughout the speech, but it was so much fun because Leon and, like I said, Tibbs and all of Jalen's close friends are all there. And I had a great line where I got so many laughs because I was like, yeah, one or two national championships, like drafted in the NBA, and one massive overpay later. Like Jalen still is the same humble kid and
Right.
married Allie, his high school sweetheart. So that got a ton of laughs, and it was a ton of fun just because they're like, when I was up there, I was almost tearing up because I saw this kid, his high school sweetheart, and I got to see Jalen. I've known him since he was 17, 18 years old, grow from a high school kid to now an NBA star. And just I'm proud of the dude, I'm proud of the dude for taking that next step in life, and also on the court, but off the court, I really got to see him grow as a person. So it was a ton of fun, and they had a great ceremony, and they made everything easy for me. I just had to read my script and have some fun up there.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, listen, that's a great thing. I mean, we haven't done that. We've done just about everything else, but not that. So my hat's off to you. So I got to ask you, I heard a fun fact about Ryan Arcidiacono, and you got to, confirm or deny this, okay?
This is TMZ stuff.
This is because Sonny and I are professional journalists, and we do our due diligence, Ryan. This is not some Mickey Mouse show that you're on.
This is
you know
not
a
a Mickey Mouse organization.
Not. Do you or do you not put peanut butter on your hard-boiled eggs? And if so, why?
That was a joke that I did one time, just like literally like sophomore year. I did it as a joke because I was so regimented on what I would eat. I would eat so many just peanut butter sandwiches, and then I'd have some hard-boiled eggs in the morning. And I jokingly did it like once. Was not very good, if at all. I do not do that.
Okay. I feel better now,
I'm
Ryan.
gonna kill that kid. But no, he's I definitely
You know who it is. I don't have to tell you. You know who it
dumb,
is.
you're dumb college kids and you're having fun and being stupid. But I probably did it once, maybe even twice. But I was just like, hey, these are my two favorite things at the moment. Let me try these. But I'm not. I promise you, I'm not that weird.
Okay. Last question, and then we'll let you go. Thank you for hanging with us. So, what are your future aspirations? What do you want to do when the ball stops bouncing for you?
Yeah, I think this is something I've been trying to think about. I just, like I said, finished my 8th year as a professional. Just turned 30 years old. As long as my body holds up for the next couple of years, I'll try to give it my best go of it. But I want to stay within basketball, as I'm sure most players do. But you know, given where I've been able to play and the people that I've been able to meet, I've really tried to develop relationships and set myself up for the future in the basketball world. You know, I've gotten really close with a couple GMs throughout the league and some scouts and coaches as well. And I tried to not necessarily shadow, but ask them what they do, and then also the coaching aspect. I think Rick Brunson has been a great help for myself from a coaching perspective. Johnny Bryant from the Knicks and a couple other guys. Just keep that door open in some capacity. You know, I mean, I have great access and being in the league and being a part of some great teams and whatnot, I have access to some doors that people might not always get and you might not get. So while I'm in it, I try to set myself up for the future. So whether that's be a GM, an advanced scout, a coach, like I'm trying to figure out what's going to be the best for myself, my wife, and our family. You know, I'm a family person through and through. I grew up with five siblings and a tight-knit family where my dad was always around. So I think I would want that for my kids. So not sure if the coaching aspect is the best for the family atmosphere and being around all the time, but you know, that's something that I'll have to figure out in the future. But I definitely see myself involved in the game in some capacity.
There was a lot of Villanova fans when you were still at Villanova that were hoping you were going to go into coaching when you were done playing and come out and take over for Jay. Nobody knew Jay was going to retire when he did. You weren't, you know, but I know there's a lot of people that said if you're going to coach, it would be good if it was on the college level. That's what I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, the college,
Very subtle, by the way.
That's right.
I hope you picked up on that.
It's definitely different. I mean, college coaches are different nowadays. I mean, they do throw around crazy money, you know, but at the same time, you also you got to recruit not only high school kids, but college kids and recruit your own team. It's
your own team. That's the biggest one.
While also figuring out money and NIL stuff and also coaching and winning games. You know, I think there's so much that encapsulates being a college coach now that it's not the most desirable thing for some people, but some people want to take on that challenge. And there might be a point in time where I want to take on that challenge. I just don't know if right now is the moment.
Yeah,
in time.
right.
But
you get it.
If that opportunity comes, I'd love to do it.
Well, we've been with Ryan Arcidiacono, 2016 national champion MVP. Ryan, thank you so very much.
Thank
for
you.
giving us your time and hanging out with us. You know, it's always great to talk to you. I guess we'll see you at Summer Jam at some point, right?
Yeah. You'll
hopefully.
See yeah, for sure.
All right. Hang out for a few minutes. We're going to wrap this up and we'll catch up with you for a second.
Okay.
So you've been listening to and watching the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Spera. The Big East Rewind is produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. You can check us out on all things social media by putting Big East Rewind in the search bar, and go check out our website at www.bigeastrewind.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Very important to us. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night.